Good morning, everybody. I guess it's probably whatever time you're watching this, but it's morning over here. So it's been a while since I've done an update on the farm here because I ran out of space on the hard drive on my phone, and I can't for the life of me figure out how to get my files, my videos, and my photographs off of my phone and onto my computer. There's some sort of glitch with my computer, so it just keeps giving me an error message, sadly. But I figured out how to create some space in the phone. I went through and deleted some stuff I don't need. So here's an update. It is September 1st. Yeah, it's like September 1st. Holy cow. It's been a really interesting journey so far this summer. I got back from living in the Caribbean for a year. I was down in the Dominican Republic, and yeah, I ran into a bunch of different delays and setbacks and issues down there, so I decided to come home. Also, it was time for me to come home and be with my family. I met some really amazing and wonderful people down there. I made some great friends. I narrowly escaped death a couple of times. But I also ran into, some unsavory people who just weren't the type of people that I needed in my life. So cheers and shout outs to all of my wonderful friends down there. I love you guys. You know who you are. But here I am back in Canada. And when I got home, I found out that a bunch of my investment partners, a bunch of the platforms, the crypto platforms that I had invested in, were going through major regulatory challenges. So in Canada and the US, regulators decided to try to shut us down. So my income went from cranking out $4,000 in passive income every month, no matter what I did, to being frozen. And I had next to nothing. I was locked out of all of my social media accounts. I actually still am locked out of my main accounts. All my phones got stolen. And I got locked out of my Apple IDs, my social media accounts, my bank accounts originally, crypto wallets. I basically just got frozen out of everything. And it was a heck of a situation. But sometimes in life, moments like that are actually, they could be a good thing. And in this case, it was for me, because I had to ask myself, what am I going to do with nothing? And I decided to start this mushroom farm. Right now, we're just over here in the suburbs at my folks' place. But as soon as I have access to my wealth again, I'm going to buy a piece of land and expand our farm. But it reminded me that I have a skill. Mycology is a really, really awesome skill to have, because I can turn other people's waste products that I get for free, or in some cases they may even pay me to process them, and I can turn that into food to grow mushrooms on. Food for the mushrooms, which turns into food for me and my family. So here I am, and as a result of these challenges that I faced, I turned the problem into a solution. And it's been a bit of a bumpy ride, I'm not gonna lie. It's been a bit of a bumpy ride this summer, but it's been a learning experience, and the mushroom farming aspect is just going absolutely famously. We're loving it here. I'm having a great time with my mom, and my dad. It took a little bit for him to warm up to the idea, but he's cool now. Yeah, so basically that's the situation. I ended up running into a bunch of problems and challenges and setbacks and delays, and that brought me right back to the earth, right back to the earth. So I decided to start this operation, which is going really well. We have tons and tons of wood, so I decided, why not start chopping wood and start a firewood business. So that's one of the things I'm doing, is that I'm selling firewood, as you can see. But I also decided to take up welding this year, and it's a really cool skill as well. I suck at welding, but but I can weld good enough to put two pieces of metal together. And so another thing I decided to do is start making charcoal. So I built, or I'm building. It's not done yet. I'll show you in a minute. But I'm building a charcoal retort out of a 55-gallon metal drum that I can use to basically to take some of this hardwood that I process and to turn it into high quality lump charcoal. So that's one of the other things. So I'm taking other people's waste products and I'm turning them back into fuel and fertilizer and food and medicine. And I decided also, actually, I decided this at the beginning of the year, and it just came back to me the other day. I bought a new chainsaw, and I was reminded that I wanted to start chainsaw carving, which is what this project is. This right here is going to be a mushroom. Fitting, right? That my first carving on the mushroom farm should be a mushroom. And this might be just 2 mushrooms. I'm not sure. It might be a couple mushrooms and a raccoon. It could be a wolf. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that. But I've never done chainsaw carving before. I've done various different other kinds of art. I'm a photographer and I paint, but and I've done some sculpture with clay a long time ago. But carving with a chainsaw is it's just so much fun. I love it. Life is so much better with a really good chainsaw. It's funny, the amount of stress that I had when I was entrepreneuring and trading and doing all that stuff, which I still do, but the purpose for my own journey as an entrepreneur and an investor and a marketer and all those things was always with the intention of buying a piece of land and starting a farm. So it's funny how sometimes life will just pick you up and put you down where you need to be, and that's sort of what I feel like happened to me. But here I'm working on this chainsaw carving. This is one of the reasons why I absolutely love having a good saw. I was using my dad's electric saw at the beginning of the season, and it was just not sufficient for the load of work I was putting it through. This was you can see how big this log was, and I chopped that down in about 10 minutes. I did it in 2 shots, and I got all these wonderful wood shavings out of it, which I am going to use as food for mushroom cultures. So we're gonna pasteurize that with hot water. I'm still working on some sort of a system that uses steam instead of just boiling water, because I think it'll be more efficient. I haven't quite got it together yet, but eventually I'm going to be using some sort of a process where I'm running steam through our substrate, which will pasteurize it better and faster, and it'll be more energy efficient, I believe, than having to boil a ton of water. I can boil a lot less water and run the steam through a chamber. But this is going to be, we're going to turn that into bulk spawn. So we're taking spawn bags that we get from one of our suppliers, fruiting blocks basically, and then we just break those up and use them as spawn to run onto bulk substrate. Now initially we started with the buckets, as you can see, a bucket tech. And when I just watched a bunch of other videos, right? I went out and I looked at some other mushroom farmers and saw the things that they were doing. And so I started with the buckets, but I came up with some pretty cool original ideas, which you can see in my other videos. I'm not gonna ramble on and on about them in this video, but basically my goal is to create bulk mycelium. Like I want to make lots and lots and lots of mycelium, and I'm doing permaculture gardening. As you can see, this garden here, we got these big beautiful tomatoes. Look at it. This was a hugelkultur that I made this year, so it's doing really well. You can't see all the way out there. Actually, yeah, I'll take a walk. Why not? I'm mobile. So we've got, our gardens are doing pretty well for first year beds. Now some of these have mycelium underneath. This has all got wine cap mycelium underneath it. Haven't seen any wine caps pop up in this garden, but we did get our first flush of wine caps in the back, in one of the back cultures. Over here we have some asparagus. I put a bunch of asparagus seed down, so there's not much to look at this year, but next year hopefully they'll be more impressive. We got a squash popping up there. Working on making this into a nice, into like, I need more of these. I'm working on making this stonework a little nicer. These are just in place right now. They're sitting there, so I haven't really, put them together properly. And we're using all of these logs, which some of them I will inoculate. Some of the smaller ones I might not, to edge our gardens. And this is another hugelkultur. We just started this a couple of weeks ago. And those are all beans up there. And there's beans and squash and a bunch of greens and things in here. But starting so late in the season, I'm really happy with the way that this culture is going. And this has also got some mycelium underneath it. This is an experiment over here where you see these logs popping up. I just stuffed some mycelium underneath those. And my hope is that they will colonize inside the cambium layer of that tree in the sapwood without me needing to drill holes. It's an experiment. So I'm not sure how well it's going to work. But yeah, that's what's up here. We've got all this lovely wood. These big logs are going to be, once they're inoculated, they will produce mushrooms for years and years to come. Some of these pieces I'm slicing into big thick rounds like this, and I'm going to make some tables out of them. Let's see. Yeah, over here you can see we did the same thing. Now I tried, this is another test. I put a bunch of mycelium in just along the logs. I'm not so sure that it's going to colonize those logs. It was an experiment. I might come along and drill holes and add mycelium through plug spawn here. But you can see we're doing all different kinds of cool experiments over here with various different species of mushrooms. This is a wine cap bed. I did put some oysters, some blue oysters underneath of those. Hopefully they'll take off. Oh, we got a little friend over here. Hey, buddy. Just a second. I don't want to get too close to him, but there's a little dove. Hey, dude. Welcome to our gardens. I know you live here. It's not like we haven't met before, but we've had lots of really cool animal interactions this year. We had some baby robins who came into this nest. You can't really see it, but there's a nest up there. And raccoons have been all over and not really causing too much mischief. But yeah, I even saw a coyote walk by one morning. We've seen some foxes. There's been rabbits all over this year. Yeah, it's pretty exciting. Over here, take a look at this. So this is I'm making like a little rocket stove type of burner. I know it looks like shit right now, but I'm gonna flatten these out and I'm gonna weld some pieces onto it to make these ports on the bottom of this drum here. And then I'm gonna be able to put the retort, the whole barrel on top, so that I can get efficient heating, so we can burn it from the bottom basically. And then I've started doing the welding. Basically, I've just been, I've had next to nothing, so I'm finding scrap materials and I'm doing what I can with what I can find. But I had this old kitchen shelf, so I took it apart, broke it down. You can see there's a piece of the shelf here. Now this is a project I'm working on too. I'm making these fire pits. So at some point there's going to be another pole and a pole going across where you can hang a pot. This grill is going to be elevated just a little bit, but it can swing in and out. So that, yeah, that's going to be set so it can swing in and out. So you can add wood or swing it if you want to grill something, right? So this is pretty rough. My welding sucks, but I'm going to clean it up a little bit. And once I make some that are decent enough, I will sell them. But over here you can see this is the top of the retort. So this goes inside there. I got to weld this so that it's sealed. I'm still not so good, so I keep long arcing stuff, like you can see over here. I long arced this guy when I was putting it on, and it doesn't really matter, but like I just blasted a hole right out of there. So I got a lot of practice to do before before I'm proficient at welding. Thankfully, I didn't blast too big of a hole in there, so I'm going to use some wire with my stick the next time and hopefully seal that up. But that's going to go on top of one of those barrels. Is going to get sealed up full of hardwood, and then we're going to burn in this bottom chamber to basically, to make charcoal, to cook all the gases out of the wood and turn it into high quality lump charcoal, because we've got lots and lots of wood and we have an endless supply. Arborists are always trying to get rid of their wood. So over here you can see some of the frames that we've built. So these are inoculated. That's one that is just in the beginning stages. I decided to just build it as I go. That culture too is a culture that we harvested from a farmer's market. So I'm trying to clone a culture. I'm not sure how well that one's going to do. Honestly, I may end up having to just inoculate it with something else to save the substrate. but there are a couple pieces of the mycelium in there, so I'm hoping that it'll take off. And it was an oyster species, which oysters are pretty aggressive, so hopefully that'll do the trick, but hard to say. It's a bit of a mess here, but we ended up with all of this. Wood for free. Here's another bed. Now this one, this one's going to take off at some point. Probably the next couple of days. Within a week, we're going to start to see fruits coming out of that. Let's see here. This area here is all been inoculated with shiitake, and there's not much going on. This culture sadly has a lot of the mycelium has been struggling. However, I did find, and that's okay. Here's the thing. The way that I'm working with these cultures is that I'm not trying to be super sterile. I'm not trying to be super it's not like I don't have a lab. So I'm just working with nature, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a bunch more spawn to this, and that's worked out really well for us. If any of our cultures start to struggle, typically it's been because of bacteria. We haven't had a whole lot of competitor fungi, which is awesome, because that's a way bigger problem than bacteria. What we've seen so far on the farm is that the mycelium will typically overpower a bacterial overgrowth with the weather. As the weather shifts and changes, and the hot days come and the dry days come and the wind comes, there's a lot of natural factors that balance themselves out, and the mushrooms eventually win. I'm going to see if I can pull back. You see, where's the mycelium here? I see nothing, right? But if I open this up, I'm pretty sure it was underneath this one. Where is it? Just a second here, folks. Maybe it was under here. Yeah, right there. You can see that we have a little bit of mycelium starting to take off. Now, I think that's shiitake. Looks like it. Yeah, that was from a spawn bag that we got. Now I probably put about, I probably put about 3 or 4 spawn bags worth of spawn into this area, and I'd also run that spawn onto some wood chips first. So sadly, this culture is not doing the strongest, but that's okay because I have a bunch of wood chips and wood shavings fermenting, and we got some more shiitake mycelium that we are going to add to it. So that's what we've been doing, and it works. If a culture's struggling, then we just add some more spawn to it and tilt the odds in the favor of the mycelium that we're trying to grow. These logs, except for the middle one, all of these logs were inoculated with blue oysters, and that's another experiment that I'm doing back here, is testing out to see what happens when one culture that we're cultivating runs up against another. We've done a lot of really cool work around here, to be honest. I'm pretty happy with this project in general. These crazy, gigantic frames that we've built have just been cranking out massive amounts of blue oyster mushrooms. This project has been a soaring success. I'm very, very happy with it. I don't know. There's nothing going on back here. You can't really see maybe you can. Yeah, look. See, we got some starting right there. Look at them go. But yeah, here, take a look at this. Oh, there's some pins there too. Look at that. Beautiful. Yeah, so you can see how thick the mycelium is on that bottom layer. And what I've been doing, initially I was just making a whole frame making the whole frame with pasteurized substrate, pasteurized and inoculated, of course. But then I decided I wanted some bigger ones. And I also wanted to make more of them. So we're splitting up the spawn that we have and the mycelium that we have that we're repurposing, and we're building them bit by bit. So what that does is that it allows us to get some fruits, some mushrooms off of the layers that are really well colonized. But then it keeps cranking them out as we add and build and give more food to the culture, right? So wine caps are underneath here. We've inoculated all of our paths with wine caps. This whole bed is wine caps. Along the edge, we have chestnut mushrooms along these logs. Back there's a bunch of logs underneath. You can't see because I just covered them in straw and spawn from one of the frames that we tore apart when it was spent. So my intention is hopefully that the mycelium is going to run down into these logs without me needing to do plug spawn. Another experiment. A lot of what we're doing here this year is experimental, but this is all wine caps over here. This one also, I used the chestnut spawn around the edges. I don't think that it's going to take off. I think oh wow, exciting. Look at this. Super cool. Here are, oh yeah, we got some wine caps popping up, baby. Look at them go. This one's a little bit of a funny shape, but it'll open up. Yeah, that makes me really, really happy because wine caps are awesome and giant and delicious. So cool. I'm happy that happened. Well, oh, there's more. Yes. Look at this. There's more of them. I love it. Oh man, that is so cool. Very, very good news. There was one here. Huh, look at that. We missed one. That's okay. Spores go into the environment. So yeah, we had a big flush of wine caps come out the other side there. It was awesome. And they were delicious. We made a big stew out of wine caps and shiitakes and things. I built this frame for the canoe so that we can layer a bunch of buckets underneath. As you can see, our buckets have been growing mycelium. Now some of these buckets, I broke them open and used them as spawn before they fruited, just because you want to keep the mycelium running, and we've got a lot of bigger cultures than just the buckets. This whole area is an experiment with yellow oysters. They also, I'm not sure how well they're doing. Let's take a look down inside there and see if anything's going on. Yeah, this hasn't taken off yet. And as you can see, I'm not being super sterile about any of this. I am not obsessively covering myself in alcohol. I am doing some pasteurization. But the way that I see it, I want my cultures to have challenges to overcome so that they can grow and become stronger and build immune systems. Instead of just doing super sterile lab culture, I want my mycelium to be strong and smart and to have the experience of interacting with the natural environment. These were the first frames that we built, and it didn't work out very well. I mean, the mushrooms grew, but these cages that we put on them ended up getting tangled up. The fruits came out and they got all tangled. So we decided to change the way we do things to wood and to leaving less ports for the mushrooms to grow out of. This has been inoculated with lion's mane, and I'm really hoping this one takes off. We had a couple of lion's mane buckets, but they didn't do too well. We got some fruits out of them, but I discovered that aspen has a bunch of resins in it. I used aspen shavings, and the resins in the aspen made it really slow to cultivate. So I'm moving away from aspen. Let's see here, and I'll take you down to the back. So as you can see, I'm making them bigger and bigger and bigger. I suspect too that another thing about this culture that I think is going to work really well is I believe that this will be well enough insulated that in the springtime these things are going to explode. Over there you can see a couple more logs. This whole area back there is wine caps. We've got another frame there. I'm going to put another one on the other side for symmetry. Down here, all of this along the edge has been inoculated with shiitake spawn, and I'm going to come and drill these logs because I really like shiitake, so I want to make sure that we get a bunch. Now this bed is an interesting story. This is a hugelkultur. We haven't gotten much vegetables out of it, to be honest. I've kind of neglected it, to be honest. Yeah, but the cool thing that did happen is that we used the straw and wood chips from what we thought was a failed pink oyster culture. And it turns out that the culture was not failed at all. It was just, it had gotten too wet and it had become anaerobic, but the mycelium was still alive. And one day after a big heavy rainfall, we ended up with a gigantic flush of pink oyster mushrooms coming out of this whole bed. They were beautiful, some of the most beautiful mushrooms I've ever seen. So this was a happy accident that happened here. This one right here, we're going to make that pink oysters as well too. And as you can see, I don't know if you saw, I was pointing the camera somewhere else, but you know, we're taking some of these pieces of wood out of there and adding them into this bed. Let's see, I'm going to stick this down in there. But this is going to be oysters, and you can see I've just been, some of these ones that are like not great to eat, I've just been slicing them up and throwing them in. I'm not sure how well mycelium is going to run off of the fruit bodies, but you can just take pieces of mycelium and put them throughout your, you know, into other substrate and they'll grow. Now there is probably still some spores in here, so I figured, you know, I'm going to throw those in there and let nature do its work. I will be, you know, building this frame up and adding a bunch of straw. I like to add wood and straw. We've even done wood, straw, and coffee grinds. Coffee grinds were a little finicky, but they did cultivate eventually. They did colonize eventually. But yeah, I like to add wood because it's a denser, more nutrient-rich substrate than straw. What we found with our first buckets was that we really didn't get big, beautiful fruits out of them. We got a couple of big, beautiful fruits, but the flush, I was disappointed with the first flush that we got off of our very first buckets. So I decided to add wood to the mixture because I think the straw just did, you know, the mycelium colonized it, or at least the oysters did, but it didn't really leave us with a whole lot of volume. Now that also could have been because at that time I was using hydrated lime to pasteurize, and some of the lime may have ended up in the mixture and inhibited the growth of the fungi, but hard to say. Over here, this on the side is wine cap, and we have some birch logs. I cut this off the birch tree in the front to make more light for the garden, so those will get inoculated at some point. And I'll wrap this up just a second. I'll wrap this up by coming over here because we got these wonderful turkey tails, and we didn't plant these ourselves. These just came and showed up in our on this log, which somehow is still alive. I found this on the side of someone's, you know, driveway, and I decided, oh, maybe I'll try and inoculate that. And then I brought it back here and it came to life. Nature is incredible, eh? But yeah, we've got these turkey tails here, and I'm making a tincture out of these. We have some chaga too. I used to harvest mushrooms a lot. I used to go out and harvest chaga, and I'm actually planning on going out to do a harvest of reishi. I have a secret forest that I'm not going to tell you about, where I harvest gigantic red reishi mushrooms. They're amazing. But yeah, I try to get out every year to that particular forest to harvest reishis because we just get the most big, beautiful reishi mushrooms. And that's another aspect of our business that we're building out, is that we are going to start making medicinal mushroom tinctures. And yeah, reishi is considered to be the queen. Chaga and reishi, the king and queen of medicinal mushrooms. But there's some other medicinal mushrooms that I harvest. Meshima. I've never found lion's mane in the wild, but we're cultivating lion's mane, so that's cool. Turkey tails are pretty easy to find. Yeah, anyway, I'm going to keep rambling if I don't wrap this up. But this is what's up over at Renegade Spores here, and our gardens are doing well. Our mushrooms are doing well, and we're having lots of fun. And stay tuned for another video. I'm going to make a time lapse I wish I started from the beginning, but this is the next best thing. I'm gonna make a time-lapse video of me using the chainsaw to carve this up, and we could really use your love and support out there. I haven't done much to add tags and and properly format our YouTube channel. Full disclosure, I can't stand the sound of my own voice when I and with the way I look on camera. So since I started doing the digital marketing thing and making content online, I just go live, and I don't try to make curated, edited content, because if I did, I'd never post anything and I'd spend a lot of time. So all my videos are live and raw, basically. Although I am thinking about getting a video editor. But yeah, I haven't had the chance to get on to do the proper formatting to get attention on our YouTube channel. So if you're out there and you like mushrooms and you want to give us a hand, go ahead and like, and there's a button somewhere. Like, comment, share. We could really use a boost on our channel. And, we're also, if you're in the Southern Ontario area where we are happy to come out and assist with permaculture projects. If anybody out there needs arborist work done, light tree work, I'm not bringing down any gigantic trees that are right next to a house or something, but I got a chainsaw and a bunch of other tools, and I know how to use them, and I'd be happy to come out and help you with any of your projects. So, save some money on arborist work if it's nothing too crazy, because our arborists cost a lot of money, and for good reason. But you shouldn't have to pay an arm and a leg if it's simple work. So yeah, hit me up. And very soon we're going to have our company will be properly incorporated. We'll have our licenses and insurance, at which point we'll be able to start selling our mushrooms. Right now we've just been dehydrating them or cooking them and eating them or giving them to friends. But in the not too distant future, we'll be able to sell them. We also are going to have a bunch of medicinal tinctures available, not just mushrooms, herbs too. So yeah, and also if you want, at some point there's going to be down there, I'll share a link to other socials. We got an Instagram page, we got a Facebook page now. We could use some love and support. So take care, everybody. I hope you're having a wonderful, I guess I hope you had a wonderful summer. It's fall now, isn't it? What the heck? Anyway, love y'all. Take care. Stay strong, stay free, be smart, have fun.